snap.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Youth Ministry Booster Podcast, live from Nashville.
Wow.
The room got green, baby.
You know, normally when you invite me to be on, it's in your garage.
It is.
I'm like staring at your wife's car on the other side
a freshly washed Subaru. Yes,
now we got Donnie. That's a much better thing to look at.
This is nice. That Donnie Gordon, everybody. Yes. Donnie Gordon, about to be a recurring guest and character on the Youth Ministry Booster Podcast.
That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
Oh, Donnie, we love to see you. We're hanging out today because we got a new release and a timely season from one of our favorite people. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Booster Podcast, give a big booster welcome to the one, the only, our OTC, Kyle Wiltshire. Kyle, what's up, buddy? Yeah, come on, man.
What's up, guys?
So good to have you.
How's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for making the drive over today. Right?
Yeah, long way from Hendersonville, Tennessee to Brentwood, Tennessee.
Well, closer than Tulsa, though, man. We've been planning this for a while. We wanted to be in the room with you because we have an important conversation. And if you got to say things right, you say it in person, not on Zoom. And so we're talking today about mission, kingdom, and sending students. I think it's a vital conversation in this time of year and really in the ways in which I think ministry has to be headed. And so we'll get into the resource first. But Kyle, I need to ask you, we need to pick it up. We were having lunch. What is the story of the middle school, high school talent show when you were a Ghostbuster? The people need to know. The people need to know.
Yeah, no, it was elementary school, actually.
Oh, even younger?
Yeah,
Okay,
I was fourth grade, okay?
Oh, that's the perfect age for that.
Yes. So, Ghostbusters came out in 84. So this is 88. I'm dating myself here just a little bit.
No, that's okay.
Came out in 88, or the talent show was 88. And so me and a few of my buddies were like, we want to do a Ghostbusters thing, a skit,
Oh, yeah.
And, we...
A tribute, as the kids would say today.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah.
So we ran it before the teachers, and our whole plan was we're going to get on homemade, like, Ghostbuster outfits, like cardboard backpacks, like a homemade...
Did you have, like, perfect Egon glasses then?
I wore the glasses then,
Excellent,
and I was Egon. You nailed it.
I got it, dude. I got
absolutely
you.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So it was foretold.
And here's what we did. We had listen. It was the 80s.
It was the 80s.
Yeah.
It
was the 80s. So the teachers put a record on of Ghostbusters.
Yes.
And so I went up there, had a line talking about this place is haunted. Right. Then my buddy got up there and he just froze. He forgot his line, and the crowd's just kind of looking at us. The teachers hit the music, and all we did for 2.5 minutes was just spray a little kid in a ghost outfit with silly string. That's all we did. That was our talent that day. Was a Ghostbusters skit.
But then the crowd went wild.
The crowd went bananas.
Wild. Yeah.
Bananas.
Yeah.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Now, was the little ghost, was he green? Was he Slimer?
He did. He was Slimer.
Okay.
But it was, again, it was all janky homemade. So it was a sheet that had been dyed green.
Amazing.
With little eye holes and a little mouth hole. And he would just run around the stage.
Are you shooting like silly string?
Silly string. Just shooting silly string at him. Just everywhere that you could see was piles and piles of silly string. Our guns all broke midway through because they were just hot glued into like a
in the canister tube or whatever.
So we just pulled it out. We're just
This sounds like a segment at Edge.
This conference ready.
Dude,
absolutely.
If you two ran out, no setup, nothing.
Well, no, you got to have the setup of I think there's a ghost on stage.
Cue the music.
Cue the music. Yeah. Because sometimes all you need is the right timing, and I think that is we talked about it at lunch today. Sometimes humor is the content. Sometimes it's just the right time delivery. It is the thing you needed at the right moment. And I for all the folks that are wading through awards assemblies this spring, or maybe going to student talent shows or graduations, because senior speeches, I mean, can we be really honest? It's senior speech time, and I don't know about the high schools that you visit, but some of the ones in Oklahoma are really open about hey, anybody who's valedictorian should have a chance to speak, and that's wild.
You had a pretty interesting speech at your church from one of your seniors, right?
Yes. So he's one of my favorite humans. We just graduated, Mr. Micah, and Mr. Micah is some special needs and developmental disabilities in certain ways.
But amazing kid, right?
But an amazing sense of humor. Like he is that kid who is undaunted. He's courageous and he's funny, like legit funny. And so part of the senior speech, they had kind of like a setup prompt to keep it on rails, was, sharing like where you're going next. He's going to OBU. There was some sharing of like, things that you did while you were in high school, but because it was our home church, it was like, what was a memory of your church? And so we're Advent every Christmas. We light the wreath, Christmas Eve service, all candles are burning. But when he was younger, they were, huddling the kids to have the kids message, but the timing was such that the kids message came after the candle lighting.
Oh boy.
And so he shared the moment we were all hoping he would share, which was the Christmas Eve that young Micah, trying to fumble and stumble from standing up for the kids message, knocked the Advent wreath over and the carpet caught fire.
Amazing.
I don't know if you've seen someone own the moment that almost burned the church down on stage, but it was incredible. And it was just one of those, it was just proof that like sometimes you just have to own it. And it was beautiful. Beautiful. We cheered. We roared.
Memories like that to me like are so special in student ministry. Like we all have like memories of, the almost burning it down.
Yeah.
But then
the hole in the wall.
You also have these like beautiful memories. Yeah. And I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit today. Like getting to go and you know what I mean? Like some of that is, mission trip, those kind of things.
So that was the other seniors that shared the top 3 moments were Micah's because of the humor, VBS, and the trips they went on to South America and to Africa on mission. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's just those are the things that stick with you because it makes faith bigger than just the building. Yeah. I think that's so critical, which is why, Kyle, we want to talk to you today about, you got a new book. And it's not just a book, it's timely in the ways in which it's next steps for students in our student ministry. And so, Kyle, I want to ask you a little before we get to some of the questions about the content, like youth ministry for you. What are the memories that you have from it? Like, where does youth ministry fit in your memory bank, in your memory palace? Yeah.
Listen, I growing up, my dad was a pastor on staff at my church, which was not close to where we lived. Like 30 minutes away. So the church I went to, I grew up in youth ministry. Yeah. All my friends were from other churches, other schools, other places. Yeah. So we all kind of came into this church.
Melting pot of church.
Yeah, kind of a melting pot of schools and stuff. And so at school, I was just kind of, miserable is too strong of a word, but just kind of wanted to get in and out as quick as I could. You know, school started at 7:15 and ended at 2:13. I would roll in at 7:13 and then, get out at 2:15. I would park in the last possible space facing the way out, just so I could get out as fast as I could and get to church. So for me, student ministry was my safe place. It was the place I wanted to be, the place I wanted, where my friends were, where my life was, social life, everything.
Yeah.
So when I, felt calling into ministry, at 15 years old, and I'm going through school, I'm like, Lord, what do you have for me? Yeah. And the thing I kept, calling back to, or in my own heart, was that place of belonging was church, was student ministry for me. Yeah. So I was like, how can I help create that for other students who don't feel like, the school is their place or whatever, that they just getting through school is a drudgery. But man, I can't wait for Wednesday night. I can't wait for Sunday.
It was the haven. It was the alternate. It was the alternate community against the mainstream.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was part of the reason why I struggled as a youth pastor for the years that I was a youth pastor, because I was like, why don't you guys want to be here all the time? Because that was my experience. Every time the doors were open, I was like, I got to get there, man. I got to go. This is where my people are. So it really puzzled me why students weren't like, at every single event, at every single, opportunity. So it kind of threw me off.
Okay. What to say more about that? Do you think it was just like the way in which it fit into their view of it or the rhythm of life, or what were some of the things related to that?
A part of it for me also was that I was on staff, so I had to be there. Sure. But for kids whose parents aren't, on the ministry team
connected that way,
it's like if they come once or twice a month, they feel like they're kind of regular. I go to church all the time. I'm there once or twice a month. And as pastors, we've all been pastors. We're like, we'd like to see you a little more than that.
We're not here all the time, actually. Yeah. We're actually here more than you think. Yeah.
So, I think for me, that was just something that I really wanted to create an environment where people felt like I want to be here all the time, but it was also a struggle when kids were, in and out and wouldn't be around for months or weeks at a time.
Okay.
It sounds like that's where your community was.
Oh, right? For me in high school, absolutely.
That's your people.
Absolutely.
And I think for a lot of students that do struggle, they probably see it as the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked to a lot of, we were hanging out with a lot of student ministers here this week. And, if you're serving at a church where you're pulling from a lot of different schools, you may have groups of students where, like, those are my people, and I just have to go to school, like you, or vice versa, where it's like, well, my friends aren't actually here, and so like there is that feeling of disconnect.
Well, and I think that's always the question of to what end does this youth ministry like lead and serve? And one of the things that we want to ask you about is the ways in which students need to understand their role to be sent. Because I think some of the tensions of where youth ministry can go wrong is when it becomes so much of a haven that it's not just a refuge, it's the alternative that we live in, or it becomes so infrequent, it just becomes the extracurricular. Yeah. And one of the things that you've written about is how important it is to understand that we're sent. Yeah. But the word you use is go. Yeah. And so I want to ask off the top, why are we talking about it as go and not mission or kingdom, or like there's something about that activating word go. And so why is that where you landed?
Yeah, I think to answer that question, I need to talk a little bit about kind of the way the book is derived.
Structured. Okay,
yeah. Basically, it's a 6-session study of the Great Commission. Okay. And so when you think about what Jesus told his disciples and therefore us, he said, therefore, go. Yeah. Make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Yeah. Teaching them everything I have commanded you, and surely I'm with you to the end of the age. Yeah. And so that go is a huge piece of that Great Commission, what it means. And I'm not going to get all into the because I don't even think I can expertly talk about it, but into the Greek of it all. But the word go there doesn't mean just leave. It means like, as you go.
As you were going.
You go about your life.
On the way. Yeah.
On the way, in all those ways. And so I think there's this, to some degree, and I think it comes from a good place where there's this misconception of like, well, every Christian is a missionary. And I don't think that's the case necessarily. Okay. But I do believe that every Christian is called to live on mission. Okay. Every Christian is called to go. Some Christians have a specific calling to leave home, to leave place, and to go somewhere else to tell people about Christ. Whereas every believer, whether you ever get on an airplane or a boat or whatever it is, ocean, that's right. You are called to live on mission, to see everything that you have in front of you as an opportunity to live for Christ and share the gospel.
Okay, so how do we help structure that? Because that was one of the things we talked about it. I love my younger brother. Mike is amazing, and the students that shared about mission trips. Yeah. But there's a danger in that too, that it becomes just a memory. It becomes just the photograph. I think there's enough critique out there about sometimes it's mission tourism and not mission tripping. And even though I do think it's important to see what God is up to outside of your own community, but what are some of the ways that we can maybe either study or caution or guide students to not just see the value of the trip, but the lifestyle?
I think in the teenage years, I want to say this carefully because I want to be theologically and biblically accurate. But when you go on a mission trip with students, it might be 50-50, 60-40, maybe even 70-30 for the students who are going as much as for the people that they're going to serve.
Come on. Yeah, absolutely.
Because most teenagers, particularly in our country and in most of our societies, typically don't give of themselves very much. Yep. And some of that's maturity, some of that's the development of the brain or whatever. Yeah. But it's just kind of a me-centered existence. And so when you are sent to you when you go to some place that's not where you live, and the object of going there is to serve someone else, that can be formative. Now, obviously, you don't want to
in a disruptive good way.
Exactly. Yes. And so you don't just want to go, and have a great experience and not expect to serve. You still want to serve, and you want the ministry that you do on these opportunities to be effective and to be helpful, not to be harmful in any way.
Right.
But when
construction project that y'all built that had to be torn down and rebuilt by somebody else,
because they didn't do a good enough job.
Been there,
been there, done that too for a long time in my ministry.
14-year-olds are not great day laborers when it comes to concrete. Minimal at best.
Some real construction people supervision required.
They would come in at night and fix it.
That's right. No, but it's as much often to help the student expand their worldview, to see that there are other people in the world who know God and love Him. There are other people in the world who don't know God,
who need God and need Him.
They need a relationship with Christ, and so it's often hard to get that in your own context. So when you step out of your context, then it opens your eyes. That's a big part of my story. When I was 15 years old, I was on my first mission trip. And we went to Montana, like 60 miles from the Canadian border. It took us 3 days to drive there. And we get there, and we're working with Native Americans, and there was some very kind of rampant alcoholism that you could see in the people as they wandered the streets and so forth. And at first it was funny to me, as a 15-year-old, punk, I guess. But by the end of the week, God had like shaped my heart. And at the end of that week, I felt the Lord calling me into ministry. And this was the first time that I had ever kind of set out to do anything for someone other than myself. In a lot of ways, probably. Apart from parents saying, "Hey, go do this, go help your sister,"
be more helpful around the house, or whatever,
that sort of thing. But it was like, well, this is not about what I'm going to receive here. Even though I received a lot, it was about how can I help serve these people who don't know the Lord and need Him. And it changed my life.
Well, and then talk about that change, because I think that's one of the things. The trip is so powerful, and again, we do encourage ministries to consider the ways in which you as a youth leader are getting students out of their context into something else.
And out of their comfort zone.
And so the disruption is necessary, but you can't live in disruption. If you're always disrupted, you aren't actually being formed. Like, it's like a jolt. Like, if you're always being jolted, you're not actually like recentering enough to live. So for you, like, the disruption happened, but clearly has set you on a different trajectory. So like, what are some of the ways in which you would encourage youth leaders that are like, okay, we did the thing, we went to Ghana, we went to Montana, we went to Mexico, but as we are going, or as we are coming back, what are the ways in which the disruption can give way to formation?
I think you need to keep it in front of your students in some ways. And I think some of that is even as simple as take some pictures from that event, and blow it up on the wall in your student ministry space, and be reminded. And when students walk by those pictures, talk about the memories, talk about the commitments they made. If there's those, like me at a mission trip, I feel God calling me into ministry. Youth pastor looking at the picture of that trip. Hey man, what's God doing in your heart about your call? That you feel. How do you feel that shaping? So those are simple sensory. Remembrances. But I think also in teaching, bring it up, talk about the lessons you learned, the things that you saw and did. Just keep it in the forefront. And it's impossible to do that all the time. I don't mean every single message, every single sermon, every single lesson needs to be, hey, remember what we did on mission trip. But be in a place to remind students of what they saw God do. And truly, I don't mean this to sound corny, but give God the glory for what happened and how He moved and how He shaped, how He, saw people, how people came to faith in Christ, how students' lives were changed, those sort of things. Just keep it in the forefront of the mind.
That's good.
One of the things that I think about in formation that we've talked to some other churches that, man, we did this a little bit with our students on mission trip. I wish we had pushed in even more when I've heard about the success they've had, is to connect for connection with like parent ministry type things, of inviting mom and dad to be a part of that. Because you talk about the snapshot picture when we start to talk about like family relationship.
It's in the hallway at home.
It's in the hallway at home. And the ability sometimes for mom and dad to get to see their kid in a very different light. Or for their kid to get to see mom and dad in a very different life has some real lasting impacts.
Well, so that was one of the things I was going to ask you. sometimes the mission trip or the excursion or the opportunity, whatever the correct language is for the people that are serving in different places, is a chance for courage.
Yeah.
Often coupled with a mission mindset or a mission trip is a chance to either share faith or practice evangelism, or do a specific and intentional evangelistic work. For students that invites a lot of like terror and fear, and not just like nervousness, but like legit fear. What are some ways from both like the study and your wisdom that you would offer? Like, no, this like it's the good fear, not the bad fear. That there is courage to tap into, because that is again, that's a powerful. You're out of your context, and so you're leaning on God's leadership, the Spirit's power to talk about why you're there. Because like again, 15-year-old Kyle in Egon glasses showing up in Montana to a Native American reservation, like people have questions. Hey, my man, why are you here? Right. And so now you have to answer the question. It forces the question. So how do we answer with courage? Or train them to answer with courage?
I think it's reframing the understanding of what you're actually doing in terms of like, you are not responsible for causing someone to come to faith in Christ. You can't do it. You can't make someone love Jesus. You can't make someone believe. That's on the individual. Our role is to just share the good news. To share what God has done. In giving us His Son. That's our role. And if you are rejected in that moment, it's not you they're rejecting, it's Jesus. And that rejection can still be painful. And I'm not saying to minimize it if you're sharing with someone on a mission trip, or better yet, you're back home sharing with a friend. That rejection can sting, and those conversations can be awkward and hard. But one of the things that I really feel like in the study and in student ministry, we really need to emphasize is an understanding of the gospel, so that it's not a rote, robotic, type of conversation.
Something else.
But it flows a little more naturally. So for years and years, I taught an 11th and 12th grade guys class. We call it Connect Group in my church, but a Sunday school class, basically. And at some point in the year, I would always ask, hey, will someone share with me what's the gospel? And I'd get some dumbfounded looks back at me, and then some brave kid would go, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Excellent.
And I was like, yes, those are the first 4 books of the New Testament.
And also Gospels.
Often when I'd rephrase it, say, what's the good news of Jesus? Then they would kind of grasp on a little bit better. But we'd work on that. I say, this is the good news of Jesus. This is what it is, and try to help explain to them. And so I think what it boils down to is, I'm not trying to slam on techniques. 3 circles, that's wonderful. Roman road, all those things are
all good things.
But I feel like it's better when it comes across in conversation, due to familiarity. And I've been thinking about this. I want to use this illustration because this is the perfect.
Bring it to us.
This is the perfect room to use this illustration.
Come on, bring it in,
guys. I have never once taken a bump in a wrestling ring.
Okay,
right? I have never once been choke slammed
today.
Oh, all right.
Let's go. Donnie, hit the lights.
I've never even been in a ring. I've never bounced off the ropes. I've never done any. Never that's ever happened in my life. But yet, I am not afraid at any drop of a hat to have a conversation with someone about wrestling. You know why? Because I'm familiar with it. I watched it when I was a kid. I watched it when I was a college student. I started watching it again when my boys got a little bit older. So I know things about wrestling, and I can talk about it with some confidence. Okay. It's the same thing with the gospel. It's the same thing with God's word. What fuels confidence and the ability to talk to someone about Jesus is familiarity. Knowing, not having everything memorized, not having a script that you can nail down, but just knowing God's word and having it hidden in your heart so that it can come out when you have opportunities to talk to people about Christ, or when a conversation shifts towards spiritual things. How you can, you can bring it up and talk about it without fear, in that, I'm not going to say it right. I'm going to mess it up. No, you're just having a conversation, and you're talking about something you're especially passionate about. Something that a person, Jesus, that deeply in your heart because you spent time with him. That sort of thing. I really would love to see it reframed in that way. Not so we don't ever have evangelism techniques. Those are fine. But think of it more in a relational, conversational way because of confidence and familiarity.
Well, and I think that's such an important tool for the ways in which it plays out in the safe spaces of youth ministry.
Yeah.
That this is not something that we hope was going to happen outside of our time together, but the safe place that we created was to talk in these ways that were not something else. Techniques be helpful, but overflow be practiced of just like, this is what's happening. This is God's work in my life, or this is the work I see of God in other lives. And like, again, sometimes it takes a catalyst moment, like a missions event or a service project or a trip or an excursion. But it also should be in the Sundays and Wednesdays and group times that are happening, so that gospel conversation doesn't feel like another kind of conversation. Like, that's one of the things that phrase, and we talked with some of our friends about it this week, that gospel conversation feels like something else that we're doing other than other conversations that we have. Like, if you have a strong point of view of what God has done in your life, if Jesus has a redeeming work transforming in you, then the gospel conversations are the overflow, and not like the gear you're shifting into, where it's like, I've asked you 4 questions. It's now time that we ramp this gear up. Like, it should be in everything, from the cups of coffee to the hobbies to the algorithms to the whatever. It should be an overflow of what is in the mix of your life. Which I guess is the question that I want to ask, is like, what you've written about is so significant, but when does it fit in the work of youth ministry? Like, I think that's always like, a lot of youth ministry folks feel like my kids are only here so many weeks. We have these things going on. Resourcing questions are often best like, when do I best use it? When does it best fit in? And so, as both youth minister, author, and parent, like, when does this important thing become like in the life cycle or the rhythm of a youth group or youth ministry to hopefully have its most like meaningful impact?
Yeah, I think the easiest use case is mission trip prep.
Okay.
You know, you have a mission trip planned, and you want to get your students ready.
Yeah.
You know, you can start 6 weeks out, and you can work your way through the book.
This is the walk up to it.
This is the walk up to it.
Yeah.
You know, you could adapt it. You could probably do it over a weekend if you wanted to make it like the content of a
missions weekend or retreat. Yep.
Something like that. But it also it fits easily into, if you have a type of midweek Bible study, or if you have some type of like a Sunday night or something. If you want to do a special emphasis, do it. It's your largest moment, whatever. If that's Sunday school or Connect Group.
Great Commission teaching series. Here's the underpinnings. Absolutely. Yeah.
I love the idea of utilizing it for the like prep for the mission trip.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, like we were alluding to at the very beginning, those are such great opportunities for like students to truly become friends together.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you go on a trip with somebody, you spend every day with them.
You can't come back with at least a story and hopefully a deeper relationship.
Well, because even for most places, camp is large.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, you can really know everybody on most of your mission trips. And I think
a lot of faith forged in a church van.
Well, extending that into like a lead up to it. The other part, and I'll continue, being one of the parent guys,
come on,
like, you're also you're creating what for many parents is very stressful.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they may be sending their kid to another country for the first time, and you taking the like time to prep their kid leading up, and it's not just like, well, we load the van at 3. You know what I mean? You've been having them spiritually prepare for that. Yeah. You're getting to know the other kids.
There's group work. There's personal work. Yeah. It becomes
and that's what you were talking about. That's how student ministries become places where kids want to be at, compared to my friends aren't there.
Yeah.
Because I've seen over and over again, you take a group of students on a trip together, like, they come back like close friends. And I've seen that's where it really becomes not just the trip, but now they're together.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's take this into our life and into the school, which is where hopefully that's what we're kind of teaching and modeling.
Yeah.
Is that, what would you say is kind of like your best hope and goal? I think that's, people write and do, there's always like, man, I hope it'd be really neat if this happened. And so for a youth ministry leader that like has taken to heart that we want our ministry to be sending and not just like saving or holding, but like putting people on mission, like how would you see this as like, this would be either like best case, best use, or a big win?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but like, that if a student ministry did this study, that it would create a familiarity with the gospel.
Yeah, okay.
I think I'm saying that word really wrong. Familiarity, is that right?
It's got a lot of vowels in it.
They'd be familiar. They'd be familiar.
Let it be. Yeah.
He's more of a pen and paper guy.
They would have familiarity with the gospel.
There you go. Yeah,
enough that it can become conversant.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But by examining the Great Commission, and so that a student would walk away understanding that, this is what Jesus called us to do.
Yeah.
He called us to make disciples. All right. He calls us to go to all places.
Yeah.
And you combine the Great Commission with Acts 1:8, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
That can be looked at geographically, close by, a little bit further out, all the way out.
Yeah.
Or it can be looked at like demographically.
Yeah.
Jerusalem, those are the people that, those are my people. Those are the people I know.
Yeah.
Judea,
Yeah.
those are the people who are nearby, but I don't really know them.
Yeah.
So how do I connect with them? How do I help them understand the good news of Christ? Samaria, those are people I don't even like.
The op. Yeah. Yeah.
But God loves them, and I need to love them too. So how do I bring the gospel to people who I don't even really like them?
If I care for them that much. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the ends of the earth. There's not a place where God hasn't called us to go. And so if that is a special calling as a missionary for you to go and live somewhere else, or if that's just every day in my life, I'm a light. I'm sharing the gospel through my lifestyle and even my words, if necessary.
Yeah.
In my Jerusalem, in my Judea, to the people in Samaria of all places and the ends of the earth. So that's what I hope, that perspective, that understanding of what the gospel is, and that students see themselves as part of the process of as they go, whether they ever get on a plane and cross an ocean or go somewhere else, whether they never leave the hometown, you still have the same calling on your life that the person who lives in India does, sharing the gospel.
That's good.
Zach, can I ask you one final question? Because I've heard you talk about it.
Okay.
And I think it's really relevant, especially in this conversation. And I'd love you to expand on it more because it is your thought. You've talked a lot in some circles that we've been in about how important, not specifically this one, but I think it applies. It is for student ministers to model what we're teaching.
Yeah.
Especially as we're talking about not just sharing the gospel on a stage.
Yeah.
But like you were talking about those natural conversations that I think it would behoove a lot of student ministries of getting to see their student minister really live that out.
It's got to be true in your life, not just so that you have sermon fodder, but it's got to be true in your life because it's true. It makes me nervous that most of the folks that advocate for sharing their faith consider the moment that they advocated for sharing the faith a fulfillment of sharing their faith, which is to say, preachers on pulpits telling others that they need to know Jesus suffices. Like it needs to happen in the parking lot of the Chipotle. It needs to be true of your interaction with your Uber driver. It needs to be sincere with the help desk at Planet Fitness. Like there needs, if the call to students is they need to have a who's their one, then you should also have one in a way that is not for vanity, but for sincerity, that it's talked about, like that there is modeling that way. And then even more so, this is the strength of small groups of co-leaders. If Kyle and Chad are leading that 11th and 12th grade small group of guys who are feeling a little insecure or a little unsure or how to have a gospel conversation, one of the easiest opportunities is for Kyle and Chad, those co-group leaders for the 11th, 12th grade guys, to see how they talk about it with each other. It's hard to have a conversation you never had.
Yeah.
It's easier to model after a conversation you've seen had. And I think courage often comes from inspiration from those that would have it also. And I think for the adult men and women leading the small groups and for the youth ministry leaders themselves, that it just is the tone of who we are. In the same way, man, I am so thankful for the work of both you and your team to craft resources that are not just something to fill the gap between the weeks, but to reshape the conversation. Because the big question I have for you at the end is the ends of the earth have never been closer.
Yeah.
And yet our kids seem more insecure about their faith. Like what used to be a geographic question, how do I get Tyler from Tennessee to see that God is at work in Somalia, it's never been easier.
Yeah.
And so it's not the missional distance, but it's the courage. And so that comes from the conversation and the study and the Holy Spirit. So when everybody's entertained and distracted and on a missional tour to see something, when the world's never been more accessible and closer, how do we make that opportunity real for a student that may have a Discord friend list that spans continents, for a student who literally may be an influencer to 10,000 people? How do we make the sense of the as you are going global in the ways in which it might be true for Stephanie or Tiffany, or for the folks in their ministries that may have a reach to Judea and Samaria and beyond?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that in every session. And I'm not trying to do like a sales pitch, I promise. It's
real. It's necessary and real. Yeah,
we thought about this when constructing this book, and in the personal days. So there's a group time, and then there's personal days. Day 2 is always called Get Digital.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it helps students walk through opportunities to use their digital platforms, whatever they may be, as an opportunity to express the love of Jesus.
Yeah.
And to live this, on mission.
Yeah.
Even in their digital spaces. And so we had, the lesson on, part of the Great Commission is baptizing them in the name of the Father, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I was like, hey, everyone's got one now who's alive. If you have a video of your baptism, throw it on your social media.
Share it.
Take a still shot, and every profile pic that you have right now, go change it to that picture of you in the baptistry.
Yeah.
That's going to start conversations with people. That can. Again, those familiar, comfortable conversations where I'm just talking about something that I love.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Jesus, the one who gave himself for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't have to be thumping people over the head with the Bible.
But it creates the opportunity.
But it creates an opportunity.
It's the thing that maybe even the posting of it may not show up in the comments, but it may show up in the messages. It may show up in the follow-up conversations. I mean, how many times have we done podcasts like this that someone showed up at the next conference and was like, hey, you guys talked about the Ghostbusters and the pro wrestling thing, right? It was the thing that created the space of the conversation because it was overheard, it was seen, modeled, whatever the word you want to use, and it drove it to a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think for students to see that some of that bearing witness may not be like the scripted, like, here's my testimony, but a snapshot. Like, what a powerful snapshot. Like, that's probably one of the strongest things to come from the mission excursions that take good photos is, Lord, let them be shared.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know that Kaylee and Timothy were spending July that way, right? It's one of those, like, I just thought everybody was going on vacation to Disney, and here they are, like, doing this other kind of thing. And so that, coupled with courage, creates those opportunities. And so that's great, man. That's so good.
And it's
so
just, it's retraining the mind to realize that there's no place where we go, virtually or physically, where we're not an ambassador for the gospel. We're not an ambassador for Christ. So if you're online in a virtual environment, my kids have the Oculus headsets, and
they're playing.
They're in there swinging their arms,
Beat Saber.
If you're in this environment, you're still a follower of Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, you don't check that at the door when you get in this place.
In the Roblox experience, in the Minecraft worlds, absolutely.
All of it. If you are on, if you have social media platforms, the way you comment, the way you interact with people online, you're still a follower of Christ. And we want to live in such a way that the light shines even through the black and white of printed, digital ones and zeros.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, it impacts you there as the same as it would in the halls of your school, as the same as it would in the streets of your neighborhood. Everywhere you go, as you go, you are a follower of Jesus, and you're trying to live a life that expresses his love and goodness, and the whole reason why he came to give himself for us so that we might live.
So good.
And it hits everywhere.
That's good, man. Okay. Well, before we go, we always want to ask, Kyle, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
But we live in a digital space, and we're always people on the go. What's something right now that's in your feed that you're checking out, looking at, or being fed to you? And then what's something that's feeding you or giving you life? Maybe something that's like showed up your way, you didn't plan on it, but here we are. And then something maybe proactively, intentionally, that you're like, this is giving me life right now. This is really exciting.
Yeah, they're kind of similar.
Okay.
The thing that keeps popping up in my feed and just in my life everywhere is a quote that's attributed to John Piper. I don't really know if John Piper
is it one of
actually
these?
ever said it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a quote that's attributed to him.
Abraham Lincoln, I believe in time travel. Yeah.
But the quote goes, there are 10,000 things that God's doing in your life right now, and you might know about 3 of them.
Come on.
That phrase that, I've seen it, on my feeds, but I've also, people have said it,
Yeah.
It's just been a recurring theme in my life for the past several months.
It's good.
It's good. To know that God is doing things, even though I can't see it, even though I don't know what all is happening, with all the ins and outs and the tapestry that he's weaving in our lives, that I know of very little of what he's doing, but I can trust the artist who's weaving that tapestry, So that's something that's been in my feed. But the thing that's feeding me, this is interesting. So we didn't really address this at the beginning, but I'm an editor here at Lifeway.
That's right. Sorry, content edit team for short-term studies. Yes,
content edit. And right now I'm working on something that has been long awaited.
Oh, okay.
Right? It is actually the sequel to Experiencing God.
Oh, okay.
It's called The Blackaby Strike Back. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm teasing. No. Gosh. It's called Experiencing God in Everyday Life. And this book but, as part of my job, what I do all day long is read, and so that's part of what I'm reading all the time is these upcoming Bible studies. And this Bible study is just speaking to me so clearly. It's blessing my heart in so many ways. And so it's a beautiful thing that I get to go to a job that fuels my heart and soul as much as it does, that it provides a living for me and my family.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So look for Experiencing God in Everyday Life next year.
Next year, 2027 coming your way. Okay.
It comes out. It may be first of this year, or the end of this year, but look for it.
Look for it.
Really good.
Okay.
It's really awesome.
I'm unbelievable. Like, there's work hat off for a moment. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm unbelievably excited about that from a very personal level.
Yeah.
So when I first became a believer, that was the very first study I ever did.
Yeah.
And I remember, it was very impactful in my life of just you get to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, there's a journey
that
to
was
it.
This idea of faith and getting to actually learn in that way, I really connected with. But then the content was so good.
And it really is. Sometimes you see a book series and there's not a whole lot of differentiation from one to the next.
Yeah. It's revised, and you're like, okay,
It's got a new cover.
Yeah, new cover. Yeah, new covers, new commas. Yeah.
This is so fresh, and it is truly the logical next step to the 7 realities of experiencing God.
Okay.
There's 8 new realities of experiencing God in everyday life.
Okay.
Which they come together so perfectly, but it's going to be so powerful for students to do this study in time, and go, wow, so I see these ways that God is working.
Yeah.
Now here's the things that I need to do now to live it out, to experience Him in my everyday life. It's so powerful, and I can't wait for the world to see it.
Well, and that is, man, so one last youth ministry conversation. Next steps is the necessary work right now.
Yeah.
One of the things that, again, we've said it before, we want to encourage again, going into this summer, more than what we have planned, more than what we were hoping would happen, would you shepherd enough, pastor enough for the next steps that students might be able to activate and do? Because I do think that's the crux of where we're at. I think we've figured out great environments. I think there's lots of great opportunities and resources, but helping students imagine their next steps, the big conversations, the courageous small acts of obedience, to learn how to go as they're going, not just the trip that happened, but the ways in which that frames their understanding of their lived reality. So very important. So, Kyle, thank you for this one that you brought today.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll see you in a few months for the next one that you have for us, my friend.
All right.
So,
sounds awesome.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you back next time.